singing since I was, you know, born pretty much. Came out of the womb screaming my lungs out. And I've been writing songs since I was 8, so ever since kind of as I was 19 I've been putting guitar to it all and trying to make music from it basically. So I first checked out the busking scheme when I was 19, but they didn't have any spaces, which is quite normal for them, so I waited a year, and fortunately when I was coming out of university they were taking people, so I've been busking for 4 years. I've been on the scheme, so it's been quite a while. I do music full time now. Yeah, I busk as much as I can, and I just released an EP on Monday, which was brilliant. I'm currently rehearsing for a show that I'm doing in January as well, and I joined a jazz band quite recently, so it's all pretty full on at the moment. The busking licence scheme on the underground was the only scheme that I really knew about initially. There's quite a bureaucracy going on down here. There's a thing that you have to do every Tuesday morning, which is to book pitches, which is at 9:30 every Tuesday morning. The phone lines will open up and you have to ring, and it's normally it's kind of like the Hunger Games in that everyone wants to phone and get in and talk to people first so they can book the best pitches. Sometimes you can be on the phone until about 2:30, like that was today for me. That's not always that way. Like, I've met quite a few nice people down here, and it's interesting getting to know the different staff at the stations and things like that. I think having regulation on busking is a good idea on the underground because there are only so many places you can do it. You know, they have to think about things like fire hazards and, you know, overcrowding and things like that. So I think it's a really good idea to have the pitches as they are. I also know how in demand a lot of the pitches are as well, so without that kind of system it would just be ridiculous. So I can definitely see why regulation is a good idea. However, on the streets I think it's a different cup of tea. Yeah, I think it's a different ballgame entirely. If everyone kind of keeps in mind to stay a respectful amount of distance from each other when they're busking, then I think that's great. I entered Geeks Big Busk last year, and it was a bit of a weird one because I already had the licence, which was the main prize. Me and Kate, who set it up, had a bit of a conversation once I applied, saying, well, I've already got the prize, so I wouldn't be able to get too far. And it was a bit weird because the conversation was left in the air as if we were going to resolve it at some point and kind of figure out what would be the case instead, but that never really happened. So I don't actually know how far I really got, as opposed to, you know, whether I didn't get into the finals because I actually didn't get into the finals, or whether I didn't get into the finals because I've already got a licence, so I was automatically not going to get in. It's really great to do it last year and I met a good few other musicians who are really, really brilliant and interesting and making new stuff. I once had a busking pitch at Stratford, which is a fairly new pitch for us on the scheme. I got someone arrested accidentally. So it was this guy, he came up to me and he's saying, oh, do you want to go for a drink? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of working at the moment. He actually had a beer in his bag. Yeah, so he gave me this beer, and then I started playing, and he was on the phone and he was kind of hanging around. And then at one point he kind of came quite close to me and he motioned as if he was going to pull the lead out of my guitar, at which point I was like, nah. There were a couple of British Transport Police who were kind of hanging around fairly nearby, and at the point where he started going as if to pull out my guitar cable, I started looking over to the BTP member, and then they came over, and then there ended up being an argument between them and they pushed each other, and then the guy ended up getting arrested.